Donald Trump and Elon Musk may just have the boldest American economic rescue plan in history. And this plan could usher in a new era of economic prosperity for the working class, markets, and of course, crypto. So in this video, we'll be diving into the latest bombshell news on Trump and how he and Elon plan to rescue the middle class, lower taxes, and save the economy. We'll also dive into a recent interview Mark Cuban had and what seems to now make him Kamala Harris's spokesperson. And we'll do this to make a contrast between her policies and Trump's, and how one of her recent policy suggestions would be absolutely disastrous for companies, economic activity, and of course your crypto portfolio. Finally, we'll be covering how to approach markets and XRP into the upcoming election, which is just 59 days away. So if you're feeling blessed and bullish, comment 777. And if you're going to be the richest person in your family tree, smash the subscribe button. Before we dive in, a quick reminder that the opinions in this video are for informational and educational purposes only and do not constitute financial, legal, or investment advice. All investments, including cryptos, carry risks and potential losses. Always do your own research and consult with a licensed financial advisor. We are not licensed financial advisors, and relying on our content for financial decisions is at your own risk. By watching this video, you agree we are not responsible for any losses or damages, and we do not guarantee any specific results or outcomes. Some of the links below may be affiliate links, and we may earn a commission, which actually helps support this channel and helps us to create value-based videos like this. We also hold some positions in the cryptocurrencies that we talk about, but that's only because we do what we believe in. However, this should not be interpreted as a recommendation for you to do the same. With that said, let's get into the video. Now, the last 3 election cycles, including or involving Trump, have been quite stimulating for the minds of the media and the people. It has arguably been one of the most polarizing times in modern history. And now when you have someone like Elon Musk joining in the fray, it probably only makes things even more polarizing, considering he owns a social media company. Many people have their opinions, but in this article from Zero Hedge, it says Elon Musk on Trump that he must win or civilization is on the line. And Elon Musk makes an interesting character for the world of politics because politics require a load of money. That said, he does seem to have it. In this situation, he's tweeting back to a guy by the name of Sean McGuire saying Elon is one of the best in the world at synthesizing complex information and seeing a path forward. He's not always right, and none of us are, but he has an incredible track record of seeing non-obvious things years ahead of others. To which Elon responded, I've never been materially active in politics before, but this time I think civilization as we know it is on the line. If we want to win and preserve freedom and meritocracy in America, then Trump must win. And so Elon is now in a place to potentially run some things in government. One of those being that Trump says he'd create a government efficiency commission, which is led by Elon Musk. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I look at Elon Musk, I see consistently successful businesses where everyone else failed, right? So many EV companies pop out of the blue and then they go bankrupt or they just don't do too well. Elon Musk has one of the only, if not the only, really successful EV company in the world. And then when you look at a company like SpaceX, there's virtually no other competitor in the entire game because it is so difficult. When people talk about that's not rocket science, it's truly rocket science that is extremely difficult, which is why even NASA and the government, even if the government doesn't like Elon, still have to rely on Elon's company, SpaceX. So it's obvious that he's a very efficient businessman and that he's efficient across the board. That said, Donald Trump believes he would be a good candidate for this position. The Republican presidential nominee claimed that in 2022, fraud and improper payments alone cost taxpayers an estimated hundreds of billions of dollars. By the way, they're stating that Donald Trump said this, but this is actually a known fact. And he said he developed a plan to eliminate fraud and improper payments within 6 months, which he said would save trillions of dollars. That said, he also unveiled proposals to slash regulations and boost energy production, embrace cryptocurrencies, and drastically cut government spending as well as corporate taxes for companies that produce in the US. The former president and Musk discussed a role for the entrepreneur in a second Trump administration during a streamed conversation on X last month. Trump even shared "You're the greatest cutter" directly on that call, but now he actually said he would head the government efficiency program. Now, this would truly be tremendous for the economic situation of the country, considering we are addicted to creating dollars and then spending them when we don't have them. And our debt has reached all-time highs during this administration, and it's consistently going up, and it will likely continue to go up unless we get our spending under control, which Elon Musk said he's willing to do. Trump plans to unveil a series of economic proposals, including creating a government efficiency commission inspired by Elon, in a speech at the Economic Club of New York. So at first, Elon said, "Hey, I'd love to head this government efficiency program. We just have a lot of wasteful spending. That's not how you run a country. It's not how you run a company. And we're going to go bankrupt." And then Trump liked the idea enough to now go talk about it at the Economic Club of New York. And here shortly, we'll share what Trump said at the Economic Club of New York that is very bullish for crypto markets. However, the commission aims to conduct a comprehensive audit of federal finances and operations targeting fraud and unnecessary spending. Trump also intends to roll back regulations and rescind unspent funds from the Biden administration. This is truly beautiful, and I believe this is the right thing anyone should do with dollars that are not theirs. In other words, our government has been wasteful with our taxpayer dollars, and I think it's time that they're held accountable. Now, in terms of regulations, he actually plans to eliminate 10 regulations, which becomes very costly and overbearing for companies. And so 9 times out of 10, companies will go to a country that has less regulation. Now, of course, we're not talking about the majors. We're not talking about something that's going to absolutely kill the average American because they're polluting the local environment, even though that has happened plenty in the past, and people like RFK can go ahead and talk about it at length. At the end of the day, overregulation also kills innovation, industry, new companies, and entrepreneurialism, and it sends it overseas, which is why sometimes it's good to have a nice balance of regulation. So we have so many regulations in the United States now that it's so costly to do business that most companies don't want to do it, and you have really good entrepreneurs that do it elsewhere. That said, he says he's planning to eliminate 10 regulations for every new regulation introduced, which is insane. Okay. He also emphasized his plans to increase oil production, saying he would use emergency powers to push through new oil drilling, refinery construction, new power plants, and other projects to increase output. Now, for the average Joe who maybe goes to a local university and thinks that climate change is the biggest crisis since the 70s, and actually they've been talking about it since the 70s, and we're not under siege just yet. That said, we are very dependent and reliant on energy. Well, here is a bit of a dot plot on energy, okay? And in this, they basically state that the positive relationship between energy and economic growth is clear. Income and energy consumption are tightly correlated on every continent and across every time period for which data exists. Nowhere in the world is there a wealthy country that consumes only a little bit of energy, nor a poor country that consumes a lot. And here is the actual image. And as you can see here, we have poorer countries right down here, GDP per capita, okay? And the poorer they are, the less energy they require. Then the richer the country gets, okay? Countries like Norway, United States, Ireland, the UK, Japan, Saudi Arabia, the more energy they require. In other words, we do need to produce a boatload of energy. And as the world moves more towards AI, we're going to need even more energy. Okay, when the world goes to electric battery-powered vehicles, which some people love, some people hate. At the end of the day, that's probably the direction that we're moving towards in most areas of the nation. We're going to require more energy. And so we can't have a lack of energy and also a rich nation. So in all situations and circumstances, everything that Donald Trump is proposing, from holding the government accountable with the tax dollars to lowering the threshold of regulations for a company to operate, to the point that he's actually pledged to make America the world capital for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And many have even argued that it's going to get to the point where the US government is actually going to accumulate at least 1 million Bitcoin under his administration. So that is going to be very bullish for crypto markets. And at his recent speech at the Econ Club NY, he basically stated, instead of attacking industries of the future, we will embrace them, including making America the world capital for crypto and Bitcoin. Now, the key word here is crypto, which also includes XRP. So XRP is likely going to have a clear regulatory path forward. They're not going to have any more attacks from the SEC. Most companies will no longer have attacks from the SEC, considering Donald Trump is not only pro-Bitcoin, right, but he's anti-Gary Gensler. He's made mention of the fact that he would fire Gary Gensler on day one. So it's highly likely that if Donald Trump wins, Gary Gensler is out, and that's going to be a very positive development for the entire world of crypto, right? Gary Gensler has consistently been attacking not only companies retroactively, but he's attacking new companies like OpenSea, which just offer NFTs and artists a way to sell their art online, but he's calling them securities. And this was his latest attack, but it sounds like he's not done yet. And so if at any point in time Donald Trump enters office, okay, Gary Gensler is likely out on his own accord or at the accord and the will of the next president. Now, this is huge and highly contrasts what Kamala Harris plans to do for the economy and, more importantly, crypto investors like me and you. Here is Mark Cuban getting grilled on CNBC about Kamala Harris's disastrous tax plan.
There's a whole bunch of folks in the Valley who I've been in touch with in the past week on this unrealized tax issue, gain issue, and where we've talked about, those who are taking loans against their unrealized stock, et cetera, et cetera. And then they say, well, if you start to tax that, we won't be able to make investments in startups. We won't be able to give money over to venture capitalists and private equity folks and other things like that. What's your feedback to that distinction? Because I wonder, once there's a critique of one, then of one policy, and you get rid of that policy, then of course it moves to the critique of the next version of it.
Well, of course, but okay. So what I told him was, if you tax unrealized gains, you're going to kill the stock market, right? And it's going to be the ultimate employment plan for private equity, because companies are not going to go public because you can get whipsawed, right? I mean, my own personal experience back from the internet days.
So I think it's really important that we pause there and make a note of the fact that even though Mark Cuban just stated unrealized tax gains would kill the stock market and the economy, essentially, he still chooses to vote for someone who's promised unrealized tax gains. Now, many people argue, well, it's only for people that are worth $100 million plus. But at the end of the day, these are the people that also have large businesses, okay, and hire a lot of people and provide a lot of economic stimulation. Now, if they say, well, I don't want to do business in the United States, I don't want to even be a citizen because I'm going to get taxed on unrealized gains and have to sell assets, well, that's not only going to hurt them, right, and all the people that they employ, but you have to think about it for a second. If they own a lot of stock, okay, they're going to have to sell it to pay the tax, which is actually going to hurt just about everyone that holds a 401k, a Roth IRA, or just about anything else in the stock market in a retirement account. So ultimately, taxing unrealized gains is terrible for the economy, and Mark Cuban just shared it right here.
Right, all of a sudden, I was cash poor, but equity rich, right? My net worth was enormous, but the number of dollars in the bank wasn't enormous. And so I'd have, based off of the unrealized gains, I would have had to borrow money, and I effectively would have been in hock just to pay my tax bill instead of trying to run my company, and 1,000 other reasons, right? So they realize that's the issue. I can't repeat it enough. Even though she's not directly conflicting the Biden tax plan, to her value proposition is we need to tax everybody fairly. I'm starting from the Biden plan as a starting point, but that's not necessarily her ending
Mark,
point.
let me just say, I appreciate you calling in, telling us what you're hearing on these fronts. That's great. But as you've said yourself, you can't speak for the vice president. These are things they're telling you. Who knows what they're telling other people? My guess is they're telling anybody who's donating to them exactly what they want to hear at this point. What matters is what they say publicly and what they will stick to.
No, absolutely, positively not. Right. Let me just be very clear.
I don't know. Like, why do you think that they're telling you the truth and not telling other people other things?
Well,
if they won't say it publicly, say it publicly. Tell all of us so that we can hold you to it.
I get it, but you've got to get the details right. You can't just.
Yeah, but we have 60 days till an election. Like, you're asking people to take a flyer.
Even if it's the day before the election, right? Even if it's the day before. Look, The next question is, the second thing I was going to mention earlier.
I just don't want everybody to trade on what we think and what we feel and what we think may happen.
Exactly.
Just tell us.
And here is a video of Vivek Ramaswamy talking about just how bad of an idea taxing unrealized gains are.
Sector, you have people sitting on large, long-standing embedded capital gains. And so for people to understand what this means, it means you have to pay taxes on sales that you have not yet made. And even forget the stock market and think about even everyday Americans across this country. That means that if you're a farmer or if you're a small business owner, you will owe taxes with cash you literally do not have in your pocket to pay those taxes. That is a formula for a second Great Depression. And it is something that's been in the bloodstream of Democratic policy for a long time. Go back to Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders' plans of a wealth tax, even in the 2020 primary. I think this idea is here to stay for the Democrats. That's a big one. I think Tim Walz's selection as vice president says a lot. That's the first real presidential style decision we've seen Kamala Harris have to make. She went with somebody who at the state level has favored increasing taxes on capital gains. In that case, it was unrealized, but they have talked about unrealized gains and taxing them. And I do worry about that, what that means, not just for the stock market, but for everyday Americans across the
stock market. If there's not 60 votes for that in the Senate, the stock market doesn't have to price it.
Yes, 60 votes, or if you agree. I respectfully disagree with one aspect of that, because Kamala Harris has been the chief proponent of ending the filibuster to ram through her policy objectives. Yeah. And so if she's the president of the United States, and in my view, God forbid, a Democratic Senate to aid her, that could be 51 votes. And could you get to 51 votes on a major change in tax policy like that? I think the answer is absolutely yes. I think that's conceivable. And so for a lot of business leaders across the country, one of the questions they might want to ask is, which is going to be the administration that's more friendly to business? Well, we don't know where she stands on tariffs. We don't know where she stands on a lot of other questions. But on tax policy alone, the idea of not just raising tax rates, but raising tax rates and applying taxes on unrealized income, that is a catastrophe of epic proportion.
And to finish it off, okay, here is a tweet from Alex Becker where he shares that people are going to yell to not get political and stay in a crypto lane. But a 45% tax on long-term gains and a 25% unrealized tax is cancer. It's double tax on long-term crypto you sell. It's an instant 25% tax on any gains you're currently in. Being neutral is no longer possible. And for many people in the world of crypto, if you plan to build a future for yourself with any types of investments, unrealized gains is a terrible idea, even if it only happened to very wealthy people, because that would cause a lot of stock sell-offs, and that would hurt the economy and arguably hurt a lot of people's retirements. So across the board, this type of a policy is disastrous. And so let's hope that that doesn't happen. That said, we're going to dive into the markets really quick, and in particular, technical analysis. Okay, so here we have the price action of XRP. What I'm going to first do is I'm going to pull up a chart of Bitcoin, and we're just going to compare the two over the week. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to see from the local lows, is Bitcoin up or down relative to XRP. Currently, Bitcoin is down 6.7% from the lows back in July, okay, while XRP is currently up 24%. Now, realistically, right, or relative to the recent highs, they are both trading in tandem or in a positive correlation. So right now, if you, for example, bought, any XRP or any Bitcoin, starting August 1st to present day, you would have about the same amount of a loss of about 15%. Now, in order to understand what could potentially happen with XRP, we do want to look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin being, again, the mothership of all of crypto. Okay, so right here, I'm going to take a down or trend line and draw it right here. Why? Because these are all of the major range highs where Bitcoin has failed to break out. Our most recent high failed to even get back into this range here at the trend line and put in a new lower high right here, which is a strong indicator of weakness in the markets. Okay, and then finally we are sitting at this range right here where we saw the market sell off, first time in July, a second time in August, and a third time here in September. So 3 separate touches for this beautiful McDonald's looking pattern doesn't look too strong, considering this is currently a downtrend. We have a series of lower lows and lower highs. If this is our major high, and I'll just go ahead and circle that, Okay, our next major highs came in lower, and then finally lower. Then we start to point out the major lows between the two highs. In all situations and scenarios, the lows have come in lower than the previous lows. So guess what? It is far more likely that we actually continue trending down. Now, where do we go to? Okay, where would that next range of support be? Well, it would likely be between 44,000 and maybe 47,000. Okay, if we break down at any serious time frame from at least a daily or above, then it's likely we're going to the $47,000 to $44,000 range. If we experience a Kamala Harris presidency, I do believe markets are going to sell off due to fear, and it might be even likely that we see a $35,000 Bitcoin. Now, there is one very positive piece of news that we can look at, and that's the fact that the majority of Bitcoin that have been bought throughout this entire period of time have been withdrawn from exchanges by major institutional investors, which is a strong indicator that they believe today's prices are still cheap for Bitcoin, and that they believe long-term Bitcoin is going to be well above 100,000 or more. That said, it doesn't mean that markets can't still experience fear and sell off. So in all of these dips, they're likely going to be buying and accumulating, but not buying so much that it props up the market. They would like to see the market dump a bit more, because that means they get prices that are better than they would have got previously. So that said, it is very much possible that we could still dump to $35,000. But in the meantime, this would be our next major range of support, right below this previous low at 49,000. Highly likely 47,000 to 44,000 would be the next range. However, it might not happen too. It might just happen that we get some level of support here. I'll go ahead and delete that. Okay. And this was kind of just a false little breakout or breakdown. And then we start to trend back up to this trend line. Ultimately, this green line is the line to break, whether it happens very soon and we see it at about 68,000, or whether it happens later in the year, sometime into October at 67,000. Either way, we're going to need to break above 67 to 68,000 to see a continuation of a bull market. And it is very much possible. This could have been the longest, strongest summer low we've seen. And the reality is we've seen it before. So it's very much possible that the market starts to rally. But in both scenarios and circumstances, I think it's a good time to accumulate, whether the market goes to 44,000 or starts to pump to 67,000. And the same would remain true for XRP. So XRP from the lows has remained stronger than Bitcoin. So what I'd be really looking for is some opportunities, if the market and Bitcoin start to break down, to start buying back at that 43-cent range, maybe even down to 38 cents. But I think at that point in time, unless we see a black swan event or Bitcoin break down to 35,000, we have so much strong support when you look at the VRVP that it's very much possible that these be our range lows. And even if we were to wick, okay, anything at the 30-cent range would be a lifetime buy. So at that moment in time, I'd be unloading or backing up the truck to buy as much of it as I can before the next major move up. Still, XRP is in a long, strong range and arguably a downtrend as well, considering we see lower highs, lower lows. The next major range we want to break out and beat would be about 73 to 74 cents. And before we do that, we'd have to take out this downtrend line right here at about, I would say, 61 cents, 60 cents. So if we can't beat this, it's likely we're going to continue coming or trending down alongside Bitcoin, and I would continue to accumulate in these ranges. And then whenever we start to see some support or strength, or maybe we see a strong rally into the end of the year because there's a new president in town, right? I do believe markets are going to rally under a Trump presidency, considering he's very pro-crypto, pro-business, anti-regulation. Across the board, it's very positive for economies. That said, then accumulating here would have been a very good move. So that said, and so because we don't know what's actually going to happen come November time, who's going to win the election, I think the best thing you can do is prepare. So if you are an XRP holder or a crypto holder and you plan to continue to accumulate crypto and hold it over the upcoming months, which I would argue is a really good idea, then you'd still want to put it to work by going to bullrunners.com. You can find the link in the description below. And once you do that and subscribe, you should land on a page that looks like this, where you can discover how to earn more crypto in less than 10 minutes with the #1 play to earn XRP game. So you put your XRP to work, which reduces your volatility because you're actually earning crypto, which is directly convertible for XRP. And on the flip side, if you were accumulating, and we do get a major pump and some very positive news into the end of the year, then you would have compounded on your crypto and XRP gains. So you have nothing to lose and everything to gain by going to bullrunners.com, checking out that link, subscribing, and you can do it in 3 very simple steps. First, you get your XRP wallet, then you get your rare game pieces, and then finally you play the game to earn crypto. It is so freaking simple. It takes 10 minutes a day, and yes, it is convertible. You can earn up to like 1,000 to 2,000 crypto per day, and at a current price of like $85, right over here we're seeing 93 in the video, but it is, you know, like any other thing, still you are earning a stupid amount of crypto, which you can convert directly for XRP, and these videos show you exactly how to do that. So that said, go over to bullrunners.com, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side, my friend. Thanks so much for watching the video. If you liked it, if you enjoyed it, if you learned something, go ahead and subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you in the next video.